Okay, we're demonstrating the technique used to check the backplane voltage on a TSX chassis. So the first thing you have to do is install one of the TSX backplane extender boards. Just find an empty slot and slide it in place. What you'll see on the card is a small hook or loop that's probably labeled ground. That's where you'll put your negative probe on, and then there's two more loops that are used for the positive probe, one marked 15 down at the bottom and then one at the top marked 5. Now ours is broken off, but it's the middle row of pins and the second one down. So we'll demonstrate how we do a voltage measurement. So with the power on the chassis, power supply on, and all the cards in place and enabled, you want to check the voltage between that ground connection and that pin for the 5-volt source. Now, as you can see on our voltmeter, we're running at about 4.84 volts. That's too low. The lower limit on that is about 4.85 fully loaded with only one power supply. So that's the other thing you want to make sure you do. You're running this check with only one power supply in the system because we want to see what each power supply does. The target voltage for this should be about 5.05 volts. That's where we want to get the voltage adjusted to with the system fully loaded. So we'll go through that now. So my lovely assistant Bing is going to show you the rest of the techniques. First, he's going to turn the power off before he pulls the power supply. Then you'll unscrew the screws and take the power connector off. He's already loosened the screws for the that hold the power supply into the chassis. All right, so Bing's going to pull the power off of the front there. Now we can remove the power supply. Now on the very back of the power supply, next to the connectors, you'll see a small blue pot. So Bing's going to adjust that one clockwise to increase the backplane voltage. So about 1/8 of a turn is what you want to try. Don't make too big of a change, and then we'll plug it back into the chassis and see what difference that made. So clockwise increases the voltage, counterclockwise will reduce the voltage. What did we do? There we go. Okay, so we've got power back on. As you can see here, we don't have lights on our chassis. We don't have the 24-volt power supply connected, but we're just showing you for demo purposes. You should have all your lights illuminated while you're doing this. So once again, Bing's going to connect to the 5-volt and see what we get, and now it's up to 4.94. So we made a pretty good move there. That would probably work okay, but we really want to make sure that we've got a full 5 volts or even 5.05. Now, while we're at it, let's go ahead and check the 15-volt source and see what that does. And what you'll see is we're running at about 16 volts. As you adjust the 5-volt, the 15-volt moves with it. So we're when he bumps the voltage up again on the 5-volt, we should see that 15-volt bus go up as well. So go ahead and let's make one more tweak on the backplane voltage. Cuts the power, pulls the power connector, slides out the power supply. And another small clockwise tweak. Okay. Now, if you were trying to do this on a live system, you would have to have the other power supply in place before you pulled that power supply to tweak the voltage. Then once you put it back into the chassis, you'd have to pull the standby power supply. So now we're up to about 5 volts, okay? So what you would do is tweak that one more time probably, and you'd be right where you need to be. So you get the idea. So once you've made that adjustment, you can pull your extender card and go back to the put your filler card in, and you're in good shape. So the procedure we went through on powering up and checking the power supply, we just did that on the left power supply. If you had redundant power supplies in your chassis, then you want to do it on the other one as well. Each time that you make the measurement, it needs to be with only one power supply powered up or in the chassis. Okay, so while we're at it, we're going to see what the 15 volt does, and as you can see, it went up a little bit over what we had the previous time because we adjusted the 5 volt as well. So once we get the 5 volt up to about 5.05, you should be probably somewhere around 16.5 volts on the 15 volt supply. Okay, so we made one more adjustment on the power supply 5 volt backplane level, and we'll make another check of our voltage. You can edit this. Okay, so we're going to check the 5 volt. We did one more adjustment on the 5 volt power. We'll see what that voltage is up, and now we're up to 5.08. And on this chassis, that's acceptable because we don't really have any load on it. And even if you came in at 5.08, that's probably acceptable. You can see the 15 volts went up a little more with the increase in the 5 volt level. Now, one thing you'll want to do, each time you shut the power off on your system and turn it back on, you want to wait about 20 seconds for the node processor to reboot and come back online so that all your I/O is then re-enabled to bring the load up on the system.